Good afternoon. I'm Anhar Hassan. I'm a movement disorders neurologist and a member of the editorial board for the Moving Along newsletter. It's my pleasure today to interview Professor Bas Bloem, who's a professor of neurology from Radboud University Medical Center in the Netherlands, regarding his award of the Stevin Prize from the Dutch Research Council. This is the highest distinction in science for a researcher in the Netherlands. As background, Professor Bloem received his medical degree with honors at Leiden University Medical Center in 1993 and obtained his PhD in 1994. He then went on to do additional training in movement disorders at the Parkinson's Institute in Sunnyvale, California, and then at the Institute of Neurology in Queen's Square in London. In 2008, he was appointed Professor of Neurology with specialty interest in movement disorders. In 2002, Dr. Bloem founded and became medical director of the Parkinson's Center in Nijmegen, which is a center of excellence for Parkinson's disease. And together with Dr. Martin Munike, he developed ParkinsonNet, which is an innovative healthcare concept that now consists of 70 professional networks for people with Parkinson's, covering all of the Netherlands. In his esteemed career, he's authored over 700 peer-reviewed papers, and he's also had many leadership roles, including as secretary of the Movement Disorder Society. So with that, I'd like to, first of all, congratulate you, Professor Bloem, on being awarded this fantastic prize. And I was wondering, in addition to the background summary, could you summarize some of the key accomplishments that led to your being awarded this prize?
Well, first of all, thank you for doing this interview. It's a great honor. I feel I've been a long-standing member of the Movement Disorder Society and always enjoyed being a member. So I see this prize as, it's an individual award, but I see it very much as a team prize. And in many ways, it's also good for our field because it draws further attention to Parkinson's disease and to the work we've done in healthcare innovation. So I hope this is also furthering the field at large. The committee apparently gave the award for two reasons, maybe three. One is our work on developing innovative healthcare concepts. And you mentioned ParkinsonNet. This is our nationwide infrastructure where we've trained, in particular, allied health personnel who through baseline training become better and better in treating people with Parkinson's, but through dedicated referrals also attract a high caseload, so they keep getting better and better, and who are trained to work effectively as a team. And our research has shown that this leads to better care, fewer disease complications, and very substantial cost savings, which could be as much as 30 million euros per year in the Netherlands alone, which is a small country, as you know. So our healthcare innovation work is one reason. The other reason is the work that I've been doing more recently on efforts to prevent Parkinson's. This is very much inspired by my partnership with Michael Oken and Ray Dorsey in particular. The book we wrote, Ending Parkinson's Disease, which led to new studies in the Netherlands, trying to clarify to what extent toxins in our environment are contributing to the etiology of Parkinson's. I'm increasingly convinced Parkinson's is maybe not exclusively, but largely environmentally driven, which makes Parkinson's also, in theory, a preventable disease. So a lot of my efforts are now around efforts to try and prevent Parkinson's, partially through sanitizing our environment, getting rid of pesticides, protecting individuals, including farmers, people living in the vicinity of farm fields, but also using exercise as a novel way to deliver a potentially disease-modifying intervention in the prodromal phase. And maybe the third pillar that led to this award was my efforts to really engage patients at every step of the research as full partners. So we try to put co-creation at the core of our work. We do nothing for patients, we do everything with patients with Parkinson's. And that was also valued by the committee, apparently.
Wonderful. The prize itself is going to award you 2.5 million euro.
Yeah.
Which is quite a sum. So how are you planning to spend the money?
So I've already spent it about 3 times. But I think a large chunk of that money will go to our latest effort, which is the slow speed study. We presented this study just early October in Boston at the Planning for Prevention of Parkinson's conference organized by Michael Schwarzschild. The slow speed study is a study where we are deploying a gamified remote exercise intervention. I always call it the Pokemon Go for the elderly. It's a gamified intervention that encourages people to move more, so to enhance their volume of their activities, but to also move more briskly. And the outcome is also measured completely remotely using the same smartphone, but also a smartwatch and digital diaries, so that no participant has to come to the hospital anymore. And by delivering such a gamified exercise intervention to people with either a genetically defined risk of Parkinson's or those with early prodromal features, we hope to ultimately postpone or perhaps even prevent phenoconversion to fully manifest Parkinson's. It's a high risk, high reward study, I'm well aware, which is why it is wonderful to have 2.5 million without any questions asked. It will no doubt be one major learning experience on how to include people in a prodromal study, how to retain people in a prodromal study, and the ethics around recruiting these prodromal individuals, and whether or not we can see changes in prodromal features over the course of many, many years. So a big learning experience, and we're partnering with PPMI, for example, international researchers and others. It's really a collaborative effort. It's only teamwork that can further the field.
How many patients do you envisage enrolling in this trial?
It's powered initially for 800. 400 is the control group who will enhance their physical activities by just 10%, which is sort of a placebo intervention. The intervention arm will enhance their activities by about 100%. The beauty is it's a fully remote trial. So both the intervention and the outcomes are delivered fully remotely, which means that scaling is not hugely costly. And my ultimate dream and aim is, if you really want to dam the Parkinson pandemic, you know, we believe there's a Parkinson pandemic taking place. It's the fastest growing neurological condition in the world. And then ultimately this preventive efforts should also go to Africa, to India, to Brazil. And because these poor people in underserved areas of the world have nothing, but they typically do possess a smartphone, this is potentially scalable to other areas of the world. So ultimately, beyond the 800 that we initially anticipate, this is readily scalable to much, much larger numbers.
Okay. I mean, this is a very important endeavor, so something that the Moving Along newsletter will be keeping an eye on as the trial rolls out, and to follow up with the findings of that, which will be hugely exciting.
Absolutely, and I would love to share our knowledge and experience with the community. You know, as many people are well aware, there are also many exciting developments in the field of pharmacological interventions that, for example, tackle alpha-synuclein accumulation, or tackle the GBA associated abnormalities in the brain, or tackle the LRRK2 associated abnormalities in the brain. And I think our exercise trial will be the very first controlled Parkinson prevention study in the world. And this being a learning experience, hopefully others can also learn from this. PPMI, in conjunction with the Michael J. Fox Foundation, is now launching P2P, a platform for pharmacological Parkinson prevention studies. We're teaming up with P2P. Ken Merrick and Tanya Sumunik are partners in this. And we hope to fortify each other, learn from each other, so that ultimately people with Parkinson's will benefit.
Okay. These are all very important endeavors to be sharing with our viewers, because they may not have heard of some of these endeavors. But kind of, if we just go back to, into your career, who or what inspired you to dedicate your career to Parkinson's disease?
Yeah, that's a beautiful story, actually, that not many people know. My mother had multiple sclerosis. So as a young child, my dream was to cure my mother. So as a my parents literally said that the third word I could utter as a baby was neurologist, and not just a neurologist. My dream was to become specialized in neuroimmunology and to cure my mother. And in the third year of medical school, I asked my superiors if I could go to the United States to boost my career. And lo and behold, Bill Langston happened to be in Leiden, where I was trained as a young doctor that very week. And he did Parkinson's. And I said, but that's no good. I need MS. And they said, well, he works in California in the Bay Area. I said, all right. I'll do the dirty work. But from the moment onwards, when I first met people with Parkinson's, I forgot all about MS. I thought this was a fascinating disease. I've been extremely motivated by the strength and resilience of people with Parkinson's and their families. So now I'm a Parkinson buff. I forgot all about MS. I couldn't even treat people with MS anymore. So Bill Langston played a major role in my career. I was also trained later on as a young neurologist at Queen Square at the National Hospital for Neurology, where people such as Kailash Bhatia, Andrew Lees, Neil Quinn, John Rothwell have been huge sources of inspiration to me. And of course, my original trainers in Leiden, Professor Raymond Roos and Professor Axel Winse, have been wonderful mentors. And to the young people maybe listening to this, the Bas Bloem that's standing here in front of you has multiple heroes. And I know exactly who they are. And from each of these heroes, I copied a small portion which I really valued in that individual and added that to my own to my own repertoire, my own sauce. And that together is the Bas Bloem that's standing here in front of you. So find your heroes, don't phenocopy them entirely, but take out that element which you appreciate and incorporate that into your own repertoire. And I'm very proud to have been able to work with so many fantastic people in my life.
Yeah, I think they're very salient words of advice. I think just to wrap up then, if you're going to leave one mark on the world, what would it be? And what would you want to be remembered for?
Listen to your patients. I think what I like about my work is a lot of my research is driven by anecdotes of patients. I publish multiple case reports each year, and some people say, well, a case report isn't evidence, it's just anecdotes. And it's true that case reports are not the highest degree of evidence, but they are in fact evidence, and they are a source of inspiration. They obviously require follow-up to find more rigor for those observations. But if I may very quickly, as an anecdote, one day in my clinic, I saw this man who said, I can't walk, but I can still ride a bicycle. I said, well, that's impossible. And we just listened to him, went outside, filmed him, and I see you nodding. It's been published in the New England Journal of Medicine. It's been widely viewed on YouTube. And that N of 1 observation stimulated a whole series of research, culminated into trials in the Lancet Neurology, where we used cycling as an exercise intervention. And now I take those observations back to this very same examination room in my clinic to tell my patients that exercise is now an evidence-based intervention for Parkinson's, and that cycling is, even for those grounded by freezing of gait, a very palatable intervention. So that listening to patients, being inspired by individuals, do decent research in conjunction, in co-creation with patients, and to feedback the findings to that very same patient population. That's my muse in life. And that's what I would like to give to all the colleagues listening. Patients are our muse and source of inspiration, and they are partners, not the objects of our good intentions. They are partners.
Thank you. Thank you. They're great words. So just again, to congratulate you on your awarding of the Stevin Prize. And thank you for joining me today for the interview.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Bye.